Hello friends, welcome back to CCSP certified channel. My name is Rag and I have 14 years of industry experience. I have recently cleared CCSP exam and decided to prepare this video series on most important topics, as soundness of concept is very important to clear any of the ISC2 exam. So this video series will not only helpful in the CCSP but other ISC2 exam and your professional life. Apart from this, I am starting a dedicated page for CCSP exam. You can write me on ccspcertified@gmail.com if you want to enroll for the same. Now jump to the topic of the day, that is identity and access management. It is topic 2 that I am starting today, and topic 1 was cryptography, and I mentioned that around 20 questions was from my first 8 lectures of the topic 1. Same way, this topic 2 will contain around 15 questions you will cover from this topic 2 itself. It has a IAAA, SSO, FIM, SEML, OAuth, OIDC, many concepts related to IAM. And you might be wondering that why I am not going domain-wise domain. So as I mentioned in my lecture 1, that first lecture, that there are 6 domains and they have different weightage. And why I'm not starting domain 1 and explaining that in domain 2. Many instructors follow that mechanism, but I don't believe in that one, because CCSP don't ask domain wise question. Like, they don't mention that it is a domain 1 question, attempt this. They give a question and you have to apply the concept. And the concept and these domains are quite overlapping. The concepts also overlapping between each other. Like same IAM, you can see IAM concept are in domain 1 also, domain 4 also, domain 5 also, that we'll see in the next slide. So in domain 1 module 3 they mention that provisioning and deprovisioning, centralized directory services, authorization and access management, and the privileged user management. So this is part of domain 1. So if I cover domain 1, I will cover this part. When you will jump to domain 4, you will find this, that federated identities, identity providers, single sign-on, multifactors, CASP. But so when I will cover provisioning and deprovisioning, I must cover federated identities, because those are interrelated concepts. Same way, when I am covering authorization and access management, I must cover single sign-on and multi-factor authentication. If I don't cover them in single place, this concept will get scattered and you will not able to give the answer because these concepts are interlinked. So same way, domain 1, domain 4 and domain 5 contains different IAM concept that I will cover in single video series. So all 3 domains IAM portion will cover, and as I mentioned that around 15 questions, around 12 to 15 questions you will expect from the IAM itself. And one more thing, that IAM is quite a vast topic, and but CCSP don't expect you to be expertise on any of this one. So even you are not from IAM background, you will not get difficulties, because I will cover most important concepts. Those are needed to clear the exam. And same way, even you are working in the IAM domain, you are working as an IAM professional, you should go with this video series, because sometimes we have a practical knowledge but we are not conceptually sound, and CCSP expecting you to be conceptually sound on the IAM concepts. So I will cover them, and those are the required only I will cover. I will not go in depth enough to explain what is IAM. So I will cover what is required in the exam. So first we cover the IAAA, the IAM operations first property. So there are 5 important property for identity and access management. One is provisioning, second is deprovisioning, third is authentication, fourth is authorization, and last is audit. So IAAA you will see again and again whenever you will prepare for CCSP exams or other ISC2 exams. So IAAA stand for identification, authentication, authorization, and auditing. And identification is the provisioning, deprovisioning contains the identification part. Then authentication, authorization, and auditing are the remaining portion. So we will cover today in this video lecture the identification part, and next lecture will be more authentication, authorization, auditing, and other advanced concept of IAAA. Those are important to CCSP exam. So what is identification? So it is standardized, streamlined, consistent, measurable, transferable and auditable framework for provisioning and deprovisioning access to the user. So in layman language, when we join an organization, we need certain access to our mailbox, access to our ServiceNow portal, Confluence, or important access regarding my work. So if I'm a IT engineer, or if I'm a software developer, if I'm a manager, I may need access of different tools and applications of different levels. Some application I might need admin access, some application I might need only read-only access. So that way, so who will decide and who will create those access for me so I can work smoothly? So there must be some system. That system is the provisioning system or deprovisioning system. The provisioning system, so there are multiple systems available in this organizations. Those are known as targets. Can be on-premise, can be external, and I should have access to perform my day-to-day operations. So based on my role, I should be granted the access. Those are required to me, and so that's why the provisioning comes. Provisioning is a automated granting the access of the user. So first thing that when I join an organization, I need a digital identity, because I will work on the digital data or digitally all the systems. So my digital identity get created in the system. That is more as a registration process. When I got created my account in the HR system, I got registered there. Either do a self registration or some HR admin do a registration process for me. Post that, I being my account that is created in virtual or in the digital domain, my account got different access. Those are the provisioning system, because I got my account got created in the Active Directory, my account got created in Mailbox, ServiceNow, Confluence, all this. So this is provisioning. So I will get some username, email address, or some unique identity. That is my virtual identity or my digital identity, and that I will be used when I access any of this application in future. That this is my username, or this is my email address, or this is my identification, and based on this they will ask for my authorization and authentication. But the provisioning systems just give the one identity for me, so I can access those applications based on identity, providing the identities. The deprovisioning system is not necessary that I leave the organization, my account should be deleted. When I change a role, when I don't need access a particular application, I should be removed from that application. So my access should be revoked based on my roles and requirements. And the life cycle management. So when I join organizations, I got provisioned the application. When I change a role, my access got changed. When I perform the when access this application, I need to perform authentication, authorization, and then some sales services. So this is the cycle, identity lifecycle management. And when in the relationship end, my account should go deprovisioned. And when I left the organization, my whole identity is created in different system must be got revoked. My access must got revoked. So this is how the identification process works. And the deny by default, that organization must grant an employee what they need based on who they are and what they do within an organization. So if I'm even though I joined as a big shot CEO, or if I join as a rookie L1 resource, I should be having no access by default. I should be created, my account should be created only based on the need of the work I have, and based on the role and responsibility I'm going to play. There's no that if I'm a big shot, if I'm a critical resource, my account should have admin access, or my account should have a privileged account, or my account have access to all the application by default. It should be the by default deny should be the policy. Same way there is a birthright access concept is there. When I got my account got created, there must be bare minimum access I should get by default, and there should be minimum. Always the default access should be minimum. So if I same way if I got born here, I should get a basic rights to like citizenship, basic fundamental rights. So those are the birthright access. So they are available by default to me, but I will not get a driving license unless I don't get a driving license. I should not be allowed to drive. So those are not birthright access, correct? So birthright is until unless I am eligible or I am required, then only those access will be given. Birthright is by default given once I join the organization. And all images I will use in these videos are only education purpose. We don't claim any copyright for them. Now there is a centralized IAM system. As I mentioned, that there must be some system who manage these identities. So there should be a centralized system, because centralized management of identities make sure the consistency is there. There is no compliance, or there is no possibilities of doing a manual errors or the mismatch because the system is centralized. So always should we have a centralized IAM system, and they should do a provisioning or deprovisioning of different target application based on the needs of the users. And as I mentioned that in the cloud, the CSP also provide some IAM capabilities, those known as identity as a service. So who manage the identities depends based on the use case to use case. So there can be an internal CSP provided identity service, or can be external. This is a federated identity management fee. So I will cover that in next lecture, but there will be a need of centralized IAM systems. So the day-to-day operation of the management of the resources access should be automated, and should be centralized way to manage them based on some rules and policies of the organizations. And what it ensures the accountability. Who is doing what operation? It can be ensured only when we know who they are, what they are authorized to perform, and what they are performing. So there is I will cover them that concept in the questions again. But as I mentioned, that there should be some provisioning, deprovisioning system, and there is a centralized system who can manage all these identities, and this is known as identities as a service, IDaaS. So I will cover a few questions from the CCSP question bank and some sample questions also against these concepts. The first question I cover: which of the following is not an element of identification component of identity and access management, IAM? So which is not a component of identification, that we have covered? There is a provisioning, deprovisioning, user lifecycle management. So one is option is provisioning, one is management, there is a user lifecycle management, third is deprovisioning, there is no discretion there. So such type of simple questions also comes in the CCSP exam, where they just ask about the concept. Sometimes they give the more complex situation also, that will cover in the following questions. So first we know the concept wise, that identification is more about the provisioning, deprovisioning, and the management of the identities. We go to next question. Why the deprovisioning element of the identification component of the IAM is so important? So why deprovisioning is important? Let's say we created the account, provisioning happened, we are doing good job, and then once we leave the organization, or even though we are not leaving the organization, we are moving to different role. Why is necessary to remove my accounts from those applications which are not required to me? Why we cannot keep them open or keep them active? What is the reason behind this? So as I mentioned, that CCSP exam will give more than one questions. Those looks correct, but we have to select the best one. The first one is extra accounts cost so much extra money. So it may cost extra money, but how much it is, we don't know. Is it something which is so important? We also don't know, because some companies has a huge amount, so costing might not be an issue to them. If you go open but unassigned accounts are vulnerabilities, correct? Because something which is unassigned or orphan accounts or unnecessary access, those are vulnerabilities, can be exposed intentionally or unintentionally by the employees or by the hackers. So those additional access are always the vulnerabilities and has the possibilities of the attack. User tracking is essential to performance. There is no something performance is my job, day-to-day job performance is not something related with this system, and the encryption has to be maintained. There is no encryption concept here, so the best option will go with the second option. So again mention, always read all the options in exam question, because there might be best answer from the following choices. You implemented IAM system in order to control access between subject and object. What is the ultimate purpose of these efforts? Why we are performing IAM? What is the reason that we are performing the IAM system implementation? Are we doing for the identification? Are we doing for authentication purpose? Are we doing for authorization purpose, or we are doing the accountability purpose? As I mentioned, all are the IAM components, but most important reason why we are using IAM system is accountability. We should know who is performing what, and there should be accountability if they are performing something wrong. So the only reason the IAM system is most important reason is accountability. As I mentioned, all the reason for IAM system, but the most important reason is accountability. The next question is, which of the following tool is most often used for identification purpose and is not suitable for use for any authenticator? So we haven't covered the authentication, but as we know that identification is just a user identification. As we have seen, the password is most for the authentication. Password is known to me only, just to make sure that I know the password. Retrieval scheme belong to me only. Username and token. As I mentioned that you get identified by your username. Same way you go to ATM machine, you get identified by your ATM debit card. When you go to airport, you are being identified by your passport. When you go to any train or somewhere, you get identified by your Aadhaar number. So this is the identification system. So username is also one of the identification system. It is not an authenticated system that we'll cover in next video lecture. The last question of the day, and the language, if you see the CCSP asks question in the such bigger language only. They create a scenario, and in the end they ask a question which is quite silly, but sometimes we get afraid by seeing too much information. First, an organization has several applications deployed in the hybrid cloud mode. At the moment, each application handles its own authentication authorization by maintaining local accounts and their entitlements. This year want to improve the way the employee access the application, increasing security and productivity. So far, only that they are using the native authentication. The CEO decided to implement single sign-on between the application with the token issue from a third-party cloud service provider. Which one of the following best describe third party? So what role third party is playing? As we mentioned, identity can be internal, identity as a service can be internal, can be federated, external system. It is example of the identity system because third party playing a role to provide the identities token. So we will cover more this concept in the next video lecture. But you will see there is a lot of language, lot of the content, but still the question is quite simple. You have to see the CCSP ask the same way. They ask the questions by writing a lengthy language, and in the end it is more the concept. They validate your concept. That's for today. Hope you have liked my channel. So please subscribe it, and you can write me at ccspcertified@gmail.com if you have any query. Thank you for watching this video.